Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is my April reading recap, and I forgot to film my intro with the rest of my videos from this month, but I hope you enjoy. The first book that I finished this month is Contingents by Paige Green. Paige is one of my friends, and I got one of her first copies to read. She's self-published, and I think it's out on Kindle and soon to be out on Amazon as well for the paperback. This is a dystopian novel set a couple hundred years from now, where we have a girl and a boy who learn information about the society they're currently living in and have to team up to figure out a way to remedy it. I started this at the end of March but didn't quite get to finish it, and so finished it very early on in the month. I was really impressed with the writing. I think there was a lot of really good action sequences. There was a lot of really high intensity moments that came across very well. The characters were really fun to be around. The world building felt complete and well-rounded. There was a character that was turned into kind of a villain, and I think that the writing did a great job of making us doubt them from the very beginning. There was a lot of really good parts of this book and a lot of really good writing instinct that I know with having an editor and continuing to build and develop this skill. I think Paige is going to be a really amazing author, and I don't normally read dystopian, so this is a little out of my realm, but I really enjoyed it, and there were definitely parts of it I couldn't put down. So yeah, lots of good things to say about this book. If you have the chance to read it or love dystopian, I would recommend. My next two books are ones that I read for a challenge that I did, which you'll see in an upcoming video, but first one is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I was actually surprised by how much I liked this book. It's a second chance romance, friends to lovers, childhood friends to lovers, and it was like a little frustrating how long it took to get to what happened between them and why they had called things off in the first place, but we got a major focus on that childhood love story and them growing up together, which I really liked. There wasn't a whole lot of scenes that took place in like present day. I think it was well written in how they like grew to like each other from that young age. I didn't like how much spice there was, especially for it being like a teenage romance. Like every time something would come up, I was just uncomfortable. So that I did not like. I think I gave it a 4 stars overall, but the font is big, like the pages are short. I flew by reading this book, and I never really like needed a break or wanted to put it down. So I was very comfortable binge reading it, and I think it would be a great book to like bring to the beach or have for like a summer read if you want a light as an easy romance. There's some definitely heavier topics talked about, but it's not like very heavy or weighty when you're reading it. So I enjoyed it. I definitely think I liked it more than Unhoneymooners, which is the only other book by them that I've read. So the next book I read this month is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. I'm not sure if I say her name right, but this book also flew by very quickly. Also big font, like it looks long, but it really was not. Like I read this book so fast. Also a testament to how well it is written, because I didn't need a break, I didn't want to put it down. Quite a big transition between these two books because this one is a fantasy. It's a enemies to lovers magic world of witches, and I can't think of like a enemies to lovers book that I really enjoyed or like bought into the romance. It always felt very forced, or like it just wasn't, I couldn't understand why these people were compromising their beliefs to like fall for their enemy or whatever, or their beliefs like weren't strong enough to be like enemies. But in this book, they really are enemies, and seeing them try to understand each other from the other person's point of view several times, which makes it a lot easier to get behind how they have feelings for each other. In this book, basically a witch who's trying to save other witches from being persecuted by hunters, which he is a like big time hunter trying to find the person who is helping all these witches escape. There's a lot of action, a lot of like high stakes moments that I think were written very well, and I gave it like a 4.5. It is a very enjoyable duology. Next, I listened to Never Lie by Freida McFadden on audiobook. I found that listening to a thriller on audiobook worked way better for me than trying to just like sitting down and reading it, but I don't have very much experience with thrillers or many other authors to compare to, but I did enjoy doing it this way more this time. The book was interesting. This beginning was quite slow, as I feel like they mostly are in my opinion, but the middle part was enough to keep me intrigued and wanting to learn more. I definitely appreciated the flashback portions a lot more than the current day. This is a story about a couple who was house hunting and end up getting trapped in a snowstorm. At one of the showings they were supposed to have, they end up realizing it's the home of Dr. Adrian, who went missing several years ago and left behind recordings of her therapy sessions with her patients. I did not connect with the couple really at all. Everything they did was like annoying, which I know is part of it and part of their characters, but it made it harder to sit with those chapters, and being a big part of the book makes it hard just to get through. I didn't like Adrienne, but her character and the way that things were playing out for her, I found very intriguing, so it kept me wanting to keep reading or listening. Okay, this is gonna be like a minor spoiler warning, so skip ahead if you don't want to know, but I hate an unreliable narrator, and I don't know why reading a book called Never Lie, I expected anything less, but for some reason I did, and it made the end of the book really unsatisfying and quite frustrating, to be frank. I don't know if it's because I don't read this genre normally, or it's just these books in particular, but both Freida McFadden books I've finished so far, I left quite unsatisfied. Not in the fact of the way things wrapped up, just in the fact that I didn't enjoy my experience with the ending. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to keep giving thrillers a shot, but I did enjoy listening to it a lot more, so maybe if I have another trip coming up, I may try again. Okay, I just finished Rebel Witch. Honestly, it wasn't as good as the first Crimson Moth book. This is a duology, but I still couldn't put it down. Like, it was engaging enough and the story is compelling enough that I wanted to keep reading it. I really didn't get tired of it. Parts of it were a little cheesy, I will say. I think it was mostly in the latter half of the book. The beginning started off well and kind of kept pace with what the first book did, but I think the second half, some of their feeling confessions and as they're trying to figure out what to do in this war, it just kind of got a little cliche, a little cheesy. Definitely a lot more predictable than the first one. I pretty much saw everything coming. It was enjoyable, but there wasn't anything that surprised me, especially when like there was a big reveal. I feel like it was hinted at too directly earlier that it wasn't much of a surprise. I think I'm giving this book a 4.25, and I would for sure recommend this duology to people who like fantasy. Okay, I just finished Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen, which is the last book I read this month. This book had a lot of good truths in it. It's about managing anxiety and kind of getting yourself out of thought spirals, changing and training your mind to think differently about things by realizing that you have a choice, and then focusing thoughts on being still with God, being known by others, surrendering fear to God, choosing to be grateful, choosing to serve others, and living with intention. So lots of great messages. Kind of binged this book, so I really struggled to keep picking it back up because normally with nonfictions, I'll kind of pace myself a little more slowly. In doing that, I kind of hit a slump and I wasn't as excited about this one. I'd give it about 4 stars. It took 40 pages to get to like the main point of this book, which in my opinion was a little too long. I wanted to know what we were talking about way earlier, and there wasn't any like super compelling stories, at least that I found, in the examples that were used. So great insight and great points, a little long. It's about 220 pages. A lot of the points I talked in circles a little bit, so I think it would be more helpful for someone who's like brand new to faith and not quite sure about biblical truths about anxiety related things. Anyway, it was good. I enjoyed it. Okay, there are all the books I read for April. I hope you enjoyed and had a great reading month yourself. Thanks for watching. See you next time.